So my goal for you all during your virtual week for the next 2 days is to get you as prepared as possible for your test that you're going to have on Tuesday when you get back. And if you've read all your announcements, you know that this is coming. The people who are in class will get it. We'll be taking the test on Friday, which gives you guys a little bit of extra time, which I think is great. I would just much rather you test here than on a computer. So you're going to have a few extra days maybe to study, watch some videos, practice. But it's going to cover everything we've done so far in math. So that goes back to graphing and data with bar graphs and frequency tables, line plots, double bar graphs, and it's going to include what we've kind of got fresh on our mind with factors, multiples, prime numbers, composite numbers. So you're going to see it all. So today, I'm going to focus just on what we've been doing recently with the factors, multiples, prime, and composite. Tomorrow, you'll get a chance to do some review with this as well, but you're going to be able to review the graphing and the data stuff because it's been quite a while since we've seen that even in Fan 5 and class. So it'll be good to review that stuff. Ultimately, if you already feel pretty good about this stuff, you might be able to click through math pretty quickly today. I think I've got 10 questions on here, and what I'd like you to do is I'm going to read them all, and we're kind of going on the honor system here because I can't watch you do this. My hope would be that you're pausing the video on each of these questions, solving it, and then once you've got your answer, pressing play, seeing how I solved it, see if you see any similarities or maybe something that I did differently, and then obviously we want to make sure that you have the answer correct. So we've got 10 questions on here. Again, if you already feel good about this stuff, you'll be able to go through pretty quickly, and you may not even have to watch me go over it. But if you're struggling with some of this stuff, I am going to show you some tips and some tricks that I've been showing you in class and in these videos that could potentially help you. If you have a calculator, which hopefully you brought it home, go ahead and get that out because on the test you're going to be able to use it. And even if you know your facts, it doesn't hurt to use it to check your work either. So we'll go ahead and get started. And I can promise you, you are going to see questions very, very similar to this on your test. So just keep that in mind. So number one says, which number is a factor of 20? We're getting to the point where we've seen this so many times that we should instantly know how we're going to start. You should know how I'm going to start. So again, once I've read it, pause it, and then come back so you can see me go over it. I am always going to list the factor pairs first, starting in order. I'd go 1 times 20. I'd go 2 times 10. I'd go 4 times 5. I know that because I can take 20, I can divide it by 2 and get 10. I can divide it by 4 and get 5. Those are all my factor pairs. So then I can look at the answer choices. It says which number is a factor of 20. I don't see 3 up there. 4 I see. I don't see 6. I don't see 9. So just the way that I do it, I ignore the answer choices until I've done all the work. Then I look at my answer choices. Some people might do it the complete opposite. They might look at 20 and say, well, I'll just try 20 divided by 3. Doesn't work. 20 divided by 4, that works. 20 divided by 6, doesn't work. So you can either immediately look at the answer choices and start doing some work, or ignore them, do the work, and then go to your answer choices and either eliminate or choose your answer. I prefer doing it that way, and I like when you guys do it that way. I like when you do a little bit of extra work, even if it's not, I don't want to say necessary, even if it's not something you have to do. I really like when you put forth that extra effort. So that one would have been 4. Number 2, same deal. Make sure you're pausing all that stuff. You can either instantly look at the answer choices and start working, or ignore them. I'm going to ignore them. Start with my first one, 1 times 48. I know 2 is going to work because 48 is an even number. If you don't know what that is off the top of your head, type in 48, divide it by 2, and you get 24. All right, guys, then I'm going to try 3. I'm just going in order. Again, I can type in 48, divide it by 3, and what do you know? It goes in evenly. 3 times 16. And then once again, I'm going to try 4 because I'm going in order. I can take 48, divided by 4, it's going to get me 12. Now, I wouldn't try 5 because 48 does not end in a 0 or a 5, but then I would try 6. Now, this one you should just know your facts, but if not, divide. 6 times 8 gives me 48. Kind of hard to see, but you know what I'm saying. The only other number that I would try is 7 because it falls in between 6 and 8, but 7 would not be a factor of 48. If you listed all your multiples of 7, you'd skip right over 48. Now I go look at my answer choices. Is 8 a factor? Yes. Is 9 a factor? Nope. 10's not a factor. 14's not a factor. That would have given me A. Some people might just think, well, Mr. Huber, I literally did 48 divided by 8 and had the answer in 5 seconds. You could do it that way, sure, and it would work that way every time. I just think the more likely that you do that, the more likely you are to rush on other questions, and you guys know what happens when you rush, you make silly mistakes. So that's just why I like doing it this way. All right, moving right along. Maybe. There we go. All right. This happens almost every single day. We've been talking about factors and multiples. People are getting the numbers confused. When you see that word multiple, you should instantly think multiply. You're multiplying that 6, and any number that you land on is a multiple of 6. So the first one we always start with, that we've been starting with in class, is 6 times 1 gives you 6. Come on, Mr. Huber, get it together. Again, I'm ignoring my answer choices. And then I can just list out my multiples, whether I know my facts or 6 times 1, 6 times 2, 6 times 3, whatever you got to do, and see what we land on or what we don't. So 6 times 1, 6 times 2, my next multiple is 12. 6 times 3, 18. 6 times 4, 24. 6 times 5, 30. Now, I'm looking for a multiple of 6. 26, we skipped right over it. Didn't land on it, doesn't work. All right, so I'm going to keep going. 6 times 6 gives me 36. 6 times 7 gives me 42. I can eliminate B, obviously, because I skipped right over 38, but I can choose C as my answer because I landed on it. Now, here goes back to what I was saying with extra effort, EOG effort. If I kept going, 6 times 8 is 48, 6 times 9 is 54, 6 times 10 is 60. That could just prove to myself that 56 would not be a multiple, and I'd be able to eliminate that one as well. So list them out. Calculator makes that one a lot easier. Knowing your facts makes that the easiest. Same deal here. Now this is one where I would say don't make it harder than you have to. Don't do more work than you have to, because we talked about multiples of 10 in class. It has to end in 0. Guys, look at your answer choices. The only one that you could possibly have as your answer here would be A, because it's the only one that ends in 0. Some of the other ones we talked about, multiples of 2, they're going to end in an even number, 0, 2, 4, 6, or 8. Multiples of 5, they're going to end in 0 or 5. And then those multiples of 10 just have to end in 0. So that one, and guys, you're going to see some on your test that, and we don't like this word, but some that you think are easy. You'll see some of those on that test on Tuesday. All right. These are the questions where I think people read too much into them, and just because maybe they use words, like maybe just because it's a word problem, people think that it's a little bit more difficult. Guys, it says, which number sentence shows how to find the 8th multiple of 11? Again, when you think of multiples, you need to think of multiplication. Guys, there's only one number sentence on here that's using multiplication, and that's C, 11 times 8. And look, if I wanted to know the first multiple of 11, you would just do 11 times 1, right? If I wanted the fourth multiple, 11 times 1, 11 times 2, 11 times 3, you'd go 11 times 4. So if I want the 8th multiple, you would just multiply it by 8. Ultimately, make sure you're choosing the answer that has a multiplication symbol in it. And it might have 3 answer choices with multiplication signs, but depending on which multiple you're finding, that's the one you're multiplying by. So that would be the number. In this case, it was just 11 times 8. So we had one of those in the Kahoot last week, and I don't think we Ric Flaired it, which I thought was interesting. But remember, when you're thinking multiples, you're thinking of multiplying, that number's getting bigger. All right. And hopefully you guys are pausing each question, solving them on your own, because I want to see what you can do. All right, number 6. This is actually like number 3, I think, on your Fantastic Five. It says, which of the following numbers shows all the factors of 30? Again, I would ignore my answer choices. I would list my factor pairs, which would be 1 times 30, 2 times 15, 3 times 10, 5 times 6. Again, I know these because I know my facts, but if I didn't, calculator would help me. Once I've got all my factor pairs, I would list those in order from least to greatest. Then I would look at my answer choices to see which one matches. I would go ahead and eliminate B because I don't see a 1. All right, if I'm looking at A, I got 1, 2, 3, but I'm missing 5, 6, and 10. That's got to go. If I'm looking at C, I'm missing 5 and 6. That's got to go. And if I'm looking at D, I'm going to circle the whole thing. You can see right there, my answer looks the exact same as answer choice D. So I didn't even use those until I did all the work. But if I used my calculator or just knew my facts, D would give me all of those factors. All right. Moving on, maybe here. All right, number 7. I like this question a lot. We had one like this on our Kahoot. It was on our quiz as well. You got to solve this one a little bit differently. This is one where I would not ignore my answer choices. It says the numbers 9, 15, 21, and 27 are multiples of which number? So I've got to look at my answer choices. So I'll just focus on 2. If I'm listing my multiples of 2, I got to see if I would land on 9, 15, 21, and 27. Now with 2, that's one where I really wouldn't need to do much work at all because I know it has to end in an even number. None of those end in an even number. 2 wouldn't land on any of those, so I could eliminate that one from the jump. Now with B, that's one where I would maybe go ahead and list my multiples. I've already got 3 times 1 on there. 3 times 2 gives me 6. 3 times 3 gives me 9, 12, 15. So far I've got 2 of them. 18, 21. There's another one. 24, 27. Every one of those numbers is a multiple of B, a multiple of 3. And I can do that by 3 times 1, 3 times 2, 3 times 3 on the calculator. Now, I can still try the other ones because 9 does land on 9. 9 times 1 gives me 9. But as soon as I list that second multiple, 9 times 2, and I get 18, I've already skipped past 15. I'm done. And then for D, I could have eliminated that one when I got rid of 2. Guys, you can't do 12 times anything to get a smaller number. You can't do 12 times anything to get 9. And if I listed the next multiple, I would go past 15 and 21 as well. And I wouldn't land on 27. So that one could have been eliminated pretty early too. So I proved that all of those numbers right there are multiples of 3. And again, it doesn't take you long to list them all out, especially when you have that calculator, which hopefully we are using. All right, number 8, again, these should all look familiar to you. This is one of those 2-part questions. It says, which of the following is a composite number and a factor of 30? So you can choose which one you want to focus on. I would kind of just start by focusing on the composite part. Remember, a composite number has to have more than 2 factors. So if I see a number that I know is prime, I can just go ahead and eliminate that. I know 3 is prime because you can only do 3 times 1. So it doesn't matter if it's a factor of 30. Same thing for 5. I know 5 is a prime number because you can only do 5 times 1. And that's what makes it kind of easy because I know D can get eliminated because 13 is a prime number. I can only do 13 times 1. That only leaves me with one possible choice. But to prove to myself that I know I'm right, I would still do a little bit of work. For 6, I know I can do 1 times 6 and 2 times 3. That right there puts the check on the composite. Now it's got to be a factor of 30, meaning I got to be able to do 6 times something to get 30, which I can. 6 times 5. So that one would be C. It won't be that easy every time. Normally you'll be able to eliminate maybe 1 or 2 based off of just the first part, just the composite part. But then if you get it down to 2 or 3 choices, then you've got to see which one is the factor of 30. And you can do that by just listing all the factors of 30 or straight dividing on the calculator. So those 2-part ones, you can make it easier on yourself by getting rid of answer choices. All right, number 9 says, which pair of these numbers are both prime numbers? Again, meaning they only have 2 factors, 1 and the number itself. I've said this, I think, in like 4 videos in a row. Just because it's odd does not make it prime. List the factors. Now, I know 3 is prime. 15 is odd, but I might have to list some numbers out. I know I can do 1 times 15. I can also do 3 times 5, though. That is not prime. That's composite. It can't be A. B, I know 5 is prime. 5 times 1. But for 9, I can do 1 times 9. I can also do 3 times 3. That means 9 is composite. That can't be my answer. Now for C, 8, I got 1 times 8 and 4 times 2. So right out of the gate, I know that can't be my answer because that's a composite number, even though 19 is prime. That just leaves you with D. You should feel pretty confident that that's the answer. We would still check it. If you listed your factors for 13, you could only do 1 times 13. And then for 23, you can only do 1 times 23. So you'd have 2 prime numbers there. Whoa, that looked awful. And again, just listing the factors out next to A, B, and C, eliminating answers, and you just get left with the one final answer. And last but not least, number 10, just the opposite this time. It says, which pair of numbers are both composite? Just because they are even does not make it composite. If I'm looking at A, 16, I can do 1 times 16, 2 times 8, 4 times 4. That is definitely composite. 21, I can go 1 times 21 and 3 times 7. Also definitely composite, which would be my answer. Now B, 22 is composite, 2 is not. We've run into that example a lot. 2 is a prime number. 2 times 1 is the only way that you can get 2. For C, 7 is a prime number. That would not work. 18 is composite. And then for D, 12 is composite, but 37 is not. So A would be your answer there. And I love listing out those factor pairs to help me figure out what my answer, is going to be. So on your test, when it comes to just the multiples and the factors, prime and composite, those are the types of questions you're going to see. If you feel really good about those, sweet, you'll crush it on Tuesday. If not, you're going to get another chance tomorrow to do a little bit more review. I'm more interested to see how we do on the quizzes tomorrow because it's been a while since we've done the graphing and data, so I think that'll be good for us. But if you watch that video, pause it, we're getting all those questions correct or most of them correct, you should have a lot of confidence going into that test on Tuesday. If there's anything that I didn't cover or maybe I didn't go over and it was clearly understood to you and you want to reach out to me, please do that because I want you to make sure that you have full understanding of all of this stuff before your test next week. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll get some more review tomorrow.